So we're going to finish 3B. There's only a few more problems. I didn't realize how short this little section is, but anyway, that's good. So the last part of 3 is Unit 3 are application problems, which means word problems. So let's look at example 14. It says 10 gallons of water leak from a hose in 10 gallons of water leaked from a hose in 20 hours. Or leak, I don't know. At this rate, how much water will leak in 10 days? Practice circling the givens and underlining the goals to start your problem solving process. All right, so what's our given? So we have 10 gallons in 20 hours. So the question is, oh, I'm so bad at directions. I was supposed to underline, I was supposed to circle the givens. 10 gallons of water. That should be a circle. We want to know in 10 days, how much water will leak in 10 days. So that is our goal. How much water will leak? And we are given 10 days. Okay, so when we set up a proportion, like I said earlier, you want to have like things together. So since we're trying to find gallons, so we already have a gallons, so 10 gallons. So we have 10 gallons in 20 hours. We want to know how many gallons, and this should be hours, but they don't have 10 hours, right? They have 10 days. So how can we get these days to hours? We can't have 3 different units. We can only have 2 different units. Since we have gallons, those match. Here, we either both of these have to be days or they both have to be hours. So it doesn't matter if we do, it doesn't matter if we change both of them to days or both of them to hours. If we did days, 20 hours is less than a day, so we would have a fraction or decimal here. So I suggest that we turn 10 days into how many hours. So how many hours are in one day? So we have 24 hours in one day. So if we had 10 days, that means we have 240 hours. So on the bottom down here, we have 240 hours. So make sure you write your units, like, you know, abbreviate them or something, just to remind yourself that they have to be, you have to keep like things together. Gallons on top, hours on bottom. So if you just were reading this too fast and put 10 on the bottom, you get an answer, but it wouldn't be right. So now, if this is our variable, right here, our question mark is going to represent our variable. If we cross multiply, so 240 times 10 is 2,400 is equal to 20x. We're going to whatever we multiply x by is what we're going to actually divide by. So 2,400 divided by 20 is 120. So the question was how much water? So what's the answer? 120 what? What units are we given? So really I shouldn't just put 120. Really I should write 120 gallons because that answers the question. 120 gallons would leak in 10 days, 120 gallons. All right, now I do have, they had just one example and then all these practice problems, but I'm going to do some with you because there's quite a few. So let's look at 15. So it says, so first of all, if you can do the, why don't you, if you want to, go ahead and pause the video, try to do these by yourself, and then just come back and check your answer. Or if you think you'll need some extra help, just hang in here with me. So Mary earned $112.50 last week working 12 hours at her part-time job. If she works 15 hours this week and is paid the same rate, how much would she earn? Use proportional reasoning to determine your result. Well, there's two things we could do. We could divide the money by the hours to see how much she earns per hour. And then we would multiply that amount of money times 15. But the directions say specifically proportional reasoning. So we're going to set up a proportion. So we could do $112.50 on the top, that much money in 12 hours. Or we could really flip this, since we're writing a proportion, it doesn't have to be in a particular order as long as the second ratio is the same. So we do money to hours, since that's how we set up the first one. But anyway, since she worked 15 hours, we wouldn't put that on top because hours go on the bottom because of the way we set up the first one. And the question is how much money? So we're going to cross multiply. So 12 times x is 12x, and then 112.50 times 15 is 1,687.50 cents. So now whatever we multiply by x is what we're going to divide by. So the answer is 1,687.5 divided by 12. And it says round to the nearest cent. So the answer is $140.63. That's how much money she made working 15 hours. Number 7, solve the following problems using the 5-step problem, blah, 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 blah. All right, point A, or letter A. If the scale on a map is 1 inch to 20 miles, what is the actual distance between two towns that are 3 inches apart? So our two units are inches and miles, so we can either put up miles to inches, or we'll do inches to miles, it doesn't matter. So since we're doing inches to miles, we had in 1 inch, that represented actually 20 miles. So 3 inches would actually represent how much? Well, this one's easy because we know what times 1 equals 3. So the answer is 3. So we would multiply the bottom or the denominator by 3, and the answer is 60 miles. So when they're easy, let's keep them easy. Let's not make them difficult. Letter B, in November of 2012, President Obama visited Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Sorry, I'm sure I messed that up. As part of a summit of Asian leaders. Traffic in the city came to almost a complete standstill, with cars moving at a rate of 2 miles in 4 hours. Wow. At this rate, how long would it take to travel a distance of 3.5 miles? Wow. So 2 miles, 2 miles in 4 hours. So where would my miles go? On the top, 3.5 miles in how many hours? Don't know. So let's cross multiply, divide by 2. So we're going to multiply 4 times 3.5. Whoops. Mess that up. Let's see. 4 times 3.5, which is 14. So 14 equals 2x. Divide both sides by 2. And the answer is, the answer is 7 hours to go 3.5 miles, 7 hours. Wow, that is a traffic jam. That's awful. Ryan works a part-time job mowing lawns and can easily mow 3 lawns in 5 hours. If he got very busy one day and mowed 7 lawns, how long did it take him? So Ryan mowed 3 lawns in 5 hours. So 7 lawns in how many hours? I don't know. So we're going to cross multiply. So 5 times 7 is 35. 3 times x is 3x. We're going to divide by 3. So our answer is 35 divided by 3. The answer is 11 hours, 11.7 hours. 11.7 hours approximately. I rounded to the nearest tenths place. All right, letter D. The director of a daycare center can feed 7 children lunch for a week with 4 pounds of macaroni and cheese. If she has 14 pounds of macaroni and cheese, how many children can she feed lunch for a week? So we have 7 children. That's a C, supposed to be 4 pounds. If she has 16 pounds, so where would that go? We go on the bottom because you won't like things to be together. All right, so can 4 go into 16? Yep, 4 times 4. So we'd multiply the top number by 4. So the answer is 28 children. 28 children with 16 pounds of macaroni and cheese. Letter E. On Thanksgiving Day 2012, the New England Patriots scored 35 points in the second quarter to aid in their eventual 49-19 victory over the New York Giants. What was their unit rate of scoring per minute during that quarter? If they had continued the second half, 2 more quarters at that rate, what would the final score have been? New England scored 0 points in the first quarter. Well, that's a lot of information. All right, so the New England Patriots scored 35 points in the second quarter. What was their unit rate of scoring per minute during that quarter? So they scored 35 points in 15 minutes, right? So we want to know how many points did they score per minute? So if we want to know how many points per minute, we're going to divide points by the total number of minutes. And we get 35 divided by 15 is 2 1/3. 2.333, 2 1/3 points per minute, right? All right, so if that was their average, what was their unit? So that's their unit, 2 1/3 points per minute. If they had continued the second half or 2 more quarters at this rate, what would the final score have been? So they had already scored, so they scored 35 minutes. I'm sorry, they scored 35 points. So the first, so we have, okay, let's divide this into 4 quarters, right? All right, so the first quarter, they scored 0 points, right? Well, the second quarter, they scored 35 points. What was their unit rate during that quarter? So their unit, so the first question is 2 1/3 points per quarter. And then it says that they had continued the second half, 2 more quarters at this rate, what would the final score have been? Well, if it's the same rate, that means in the third quarter, they would have scored 35 points. And in the fourth quarter, they would have scored 35 points, right? So the total score would have been 35 times 3 quarters. They would have 105 points total. So this is the first question, 2 1/3 points per minute. And the last question, the second question is 105 points if they maintained that rate. Oh, that's it. All right, you guys. So that's the end of Unit 3. So we're going to meet Wednesday at 6 o'clock and just kind of review all of Unit 3. And then your test will start about probably 7 o'clock. So you'll have till 8:15. So you have an hour and 15 minutes. All right, well, good luck to you guys. And I will talk to you later on. We're going to have a collaborate meeting tonight for Monday and then again on Wednesday. Have a good night.